The legend of the Gofasa tree from Gorontalo. Once upon a time, in a small village surrounded by dense forests in Gorontalo, there lived a young man named Tuwalo. He was known as a skilled hunter who often ventured into the forest to find food for his family. One day, while hunting deer in the heart of the forest, he strayed far into uncharted territory. As the sun began to set, the shadows of the trees grew longer. While trying to find his way out, Tuwalo stumbled upon a gigantic tree that towered above him. Its roots were large and spread out in all directions, as if gripping the earth firmly. Its leaves were lush green, shimmering like jade when touched by the remaining sunlight. This tree was unlike any other around it. It appeared older and more majestic. As Tuwalo prepared to rest under the tree, a strong wind suddenly blew, and he heard a faint whispering sound. He frowned and looked around. From behind the tree's large roots, an old man in a white robe emerged, with long hair and a beard like fluffy clouds. His eyes were full of wisdom, but there was a sharp gleam that hinted at a warning.
Young man,
The old man's voice echoed.
this tree you see is no ordinary tree. This is the Gofasa tree, the guardian of the forest and your village. As long as it stands, the village will prosper, the rivers will flow, and the land will be fertile. But if it is cut down, a great disaster will befall this land.
This tree you see is no ordinary tree. This is the Gofasa tree, the guardian of the forest and your village. As long as it stands, the village will prosper, the rivers will flow, and the land will be fertile. But if it is cut down, a great disaster will befall this land.
Who are you, and why is this tree so important?
The old man smiled faintly and replied,
I am the guardian spirit of this forest. The Gofasa tree has stood since your ancestors lived. It is the source of life for the forest and the village. If you want your village to prosper, protect this tree.
With that, the old man slowly vanished with the wind. Tuwalo stood there in silence for a moment before finally running back to the village, ignoring his fatigue and hunger. Upon reaching the village, he gathered the elders and recounted his experience. The village elders exchanged glances and then nodded, acknowledging that they had heard the legend of the Gofasa tree from their ancestors. From that moment on, the villagers treated the tree with utmost respect. However, years later, a group of traders from a distant land arrived. They saw the massive Gofasa tree and wanted to cut it down for its valuable wood. They offered gold and jewels to the village chief in exchange. Some people were tempted by the riches, but the village elders reminded them of the forest guardian's warning. Unfortunately, the greedy village chief ignored the advice and gave permission to the traders to cut down the tree. When the first axe struck the trunk of the Gofasa tree, the once clear sky suddenly became dark. A strong wind blew, followed by thunder. Heavy rain poured down relentlessly, causing a great flood that struck the village. The river, which had been calm, suddenly overflowed, sweeping away homes and fields. The forest animals ran in panic, as if they knew a disaster was happening. The terrified villagers finally realized they had made a huge mistake. With their remaining strength, they tried to stop the loggers, but it was too late. The Gofasa tree fell with a thunderous crash that shook the ground. As the tree fell, the cries of pain were heard from the loggers who suddenly disappeared into the ground. After the disaster, the once prosperous village turned into a barren and deserted land. The once clear river dried up, and the fields were no longer fertile. The remaining villagers left the village, searching for another place to live. The Gofasa tree, which had been a symbol of prosperity, was now just a memory, leaving a valuable lesson for those who remained alive. The legend of the Gofasa tree teaches us that greed and disrespect for nature can bring great disaster. Humans must live in harmony with nature, not destroy it for temporary gain. Every tree, river, and land plays a crucial role in maintaining the balance of the ecosystem. Therefore, we must protect our natural heritage for future generations.